Greetings, one and all. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for those who bought my book. That's great. Exercising Witches, out now. Been out for a couple of weeks now. Doing well. Thank you. I wanted to do a little bit about Gurdjieff and All and Everything, the book Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson. I was discussing with people another book I'd written a long time ago called Angels and Devils. Was it Angels and Demons? I think it was called Angels and Devils. So long ago I wrote it, but it had been inspired by Gurdjieff. And someone said, "Oh, where did you get that from?" So I was telling him, and then he went, "Oh, you know that Gurdjieff saying this is a myth." So I went and obviously looked into that and reread it. And I do say he is discussing the Babylonian myths in the bit I'm going to read to you in a moment. But I also see that this practice is discussed in many different religions, including Thoth. And you'll see why Thoth, the Egyptian, why in a moment. So this is from All and Everything. This is from Beelzebub's fifth flight to the earth. So he's talking about Babylon. One of these two teachings, which then had many adherents in Babylon, was just the dualistic, and the other the atheistic, so that in one of them it was proved that in beings there is the soul, and in the other quite the opposite, namely that they had nothing of the kind. And we've got to remember that Gurdjieff says we're all born with the seed of the soul, the germ of the soul, and it's how we develop it as we grow, as to whether we actually end up with a soul or not. If we don't work on it from childhood upwards, it just diminishes and stays a seed, or it might grow a little bit. Maybe it's part of, I think it's part of your conscience that niggles at you anyway. But not everybody wants to develop it. And I've discussed with many people how, you see, some people with no soul in this world, no soul at all. They have no concerns for anything. And I'm hoping to have a friend on soon, because we want to discuss the difference between spirit and soul, because I think in some places, and I think Madame Blavatsky's like this, I think they swap the meanings of spirit and soul, or that's what they believe it is. Or maybe Gurdjieff's got it different to everybody else. But I strongly believe that the spirit is our life force in this world, but our soul is the connection to the divine that we have eternally throughout time, that we bring back with us if we come back and reincarnate what we had in other past lives. That soul is our essence. Anyway, going on. In the dualist or idealist teaching, it was said that within the coarse body of the being man, there is a fine and invisible body, which is just the soul. And I find this interesting because he's talking here, and I had not noticed this before, that it's within the body of man, that the soul is like a thin film in the body of man, that's perhaps like around the aura, not necessarily in the aura. Whereas Rudolf Steiner says that the soul is in the ether body, in the etheric body. And that's what he was concerned about, being that the dark forces would at some point find a vaccination that would detach the etheric body from the human body. And then you would no longer be connected to your soul. Now, she probably wouldn't notice this if it happened to them, because they're probably not in tune with their soul. But people that work on themselves, or who do work with their soul, will suddenly notice something's different. And I'm kind of concerned that if that did happen, would they suddenly think, oh, all that I believed in, this soul work and working with the divine, and their faith and their belief, would that just switch off? Or would they notice something's wrong? It's something's trying to tell them that there's nothing there anymore, because they're not in touch with their soul. They're not connected with their soul that's giving them that divine essence. Well, then I wonder, which I'm going to continue with this bit here in Gurdjieff's work, if we have got a connection, if we're all born with what he's about to say, would that be disconnected too? I'm rambling. Let me just read this and then we'll know what we mean. This fine body of man is immortal, that is to say, it is never destroyed. This fine body or soul, it was said further, must make a corresponding payment for every action of the physical body, whether voluntary or involuntary. And every man already at birth consists of these two bodies, namely the physical body and the soul. Now, in ancient Egypt, they said we had 7 bodies, and I know Gurdjieff hints at that somewhere else in his book, but we'll go to that another time. And when you die, your soul is taken up to a a judgment hall, which is ruled over by the goddess Mart. It's the goddess Mart, surely I should, beautiful goddess, always has the feather of truth on top of her head. And she stands before the scale. And the scale weighs your heart. So your heart's, in their mythology, containing all that you've done in this world. Good deeds, bad deeds, everything is all contained in your heart. And your heart is weighed against the feather. And if your heart's heavier than the feather, then you get eaten up by the monster that I've forgotten what its name is, but it's like a cross of a hippopotamus, crocodile, lion, beastie thing. But if your heart weighs the same as or less than the feather, so the feather is heavier, then you are allowed to go on into the next realm. And Thoth is the one that's been taking note of everything you've done in your life. He has the book of your life, of everything you've done. So he can tick it all off of whether, there's no cheating with the heart. He brings that book out and compares it with your heart being weighed. And this is all part of, again, in the Egyptian mythology, there's a bar soul and a car soul. The bar soul is, you might have seen it if you like Egyptology, the representation of a bird with a human head. And that'd be your human head on that bird. That's your bar soul flying around, fluttering around. I hope to be on a magpie's body because I like magpies. Further, it was said that as soon as a man is born, two invisible spirits perch upon his shoulders. On his right shoulder sits a spirit of good, called an angel, and on his left, a second spirit, a spirit of evil, called a devil. From the very first day, these spirits, the spirit of good and the spirit of evil, record in their notebooks all the manifestations of the man. The spirit sitting on his right shoulder recording all those called his good manifestations or good deeds, and the spirit sitting on his left shoulder, the evil. Among the duties of these two spirits is that of suggesting to and compelling a man to do more of those manifestations which are in their respective domains. Now, I spoke in one of my shows recently about this, of, are you listening to the angel that's trying to give you good advice and wisdom? Or are you listening to that devil that's trying to tempt you to do naughty things? And I've spoken about it in other shows as well, because I find this a very fascinating, interesting mythology. And I know Gurdjieff saying here this is part of the Babylonian myth, but I find it interesting he's put it in his book. Is he encouraging us to be aware of what's whispering in our ears, whether it's our conscience, which is inside us, welling up, trying to say to us, that was naughty, don't do that, or this is a good thing to do, be like this. My book, Angels and Devils, was all about a man who could suddenly become aware of the angel and devil on his shoulders and how he had to continue through life like that. And I suppose I'm trying to encourage people to think about this. I'm not saying go and look for this angel and devil on your shoulders, but perhaps be aware of something whispering in your ears, or be aware of the fact that you are half an angel and half a devil inside you. And what path are you following? What side of you are you listening to? The spirit on the right constantly strives to make the man refrain from doing those actions which are in the domain of the opposite spirit, and perforce more of those in his own domain. And the spirit on the left does the same, but vice versa. In this strange teaching, it was further said that these two spirit rivals are always combating each other, and that each strives with might and main that the man should do more of those actions which are in his domain. When the man dies, these spirits leave his physical body on the earth and take his soul to God, who exists somewhere up in heaven. There, up in heaven, this God sits surrounded by his devoted archangels and angels, and suspended in front of him is a pair of scales. You know what's coming. On each side of the scales, spirits stand on duty. On the right stand the spirits who are called servants of paradise, and these are the angels. And on the left stand the servants of hell, and these are the devils. The spirits which have sat on the man's shoulder all his life bring his soul after death to God, and God then takes from their hands the notebooks in which the notes have been recorded of all the man's actions, and he places them on the pans of the scales. On the right pan, he puts the notebook of the angel, and on the left pan, the notebook of the devil. And according to the pan which falls, God commands the spirits on duty standing on the given side to take this soul into their charge. In the charge of the spirit standing on duty on the right is just that place called paradise. And you can guess what the place is on the left. You know, which one do you want to go to? I have lots of friends that go, oh, I can't wait to go to hell. It's where all the good rock stars are going to be. Maybe there will be good music down there, but they'll still all be being tortured by the demons and the devils. Who knows? None of us can recall what happened to us in past lives. Though this kind of gives you the idea that maybe there is only the one life, and this is your one chance to make the most of it. Enjoy your life. I do encourage that in people. Don't go around being a pious, humble person, not wanting to do anything because you don't want to upset God. Go and enjoy your life, because I'm sure if you're doing the right thing, you'll be pleasing the divine source. You're working with the divine source. If you go doing naughty things and do what the demon on your left side is telling you to do, not Thoth, he's good. The demon sitting on your left side, then that's disappointing the divine source. We're not here to get our own way through bad actions and doing mischievous, naughty, breaking the commandments kind of rules. Doesn't matter if you break rules of humans. Some of the rules are stupid, but we don't want to break divine rules. It's all sounding a bit preachy now, but I'm not meaning it like that. I'm meaning that, think about what you're doing, what's in your conscience, who are you listening to? I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching and listening. May your angel lead you in the right path. May your demon be a little bit quiet or be redeemed, as I was saying in a past show. Redeem that demon on the left side. Rebuke him. Rebuke him with peace. Peace.